Hi everyone, my name's Nick. Going to be talking about informed consent. So the basic need for informed consent is twofold. In my opinion, it is the ethical responsibility to provide the information needed for consent. And you also must assume that the client has zero background with mental health counseling or how it operates. Informed consent is about clearly and concisely educating the client, but it's also fundamental to protect the counselor from any possible ethical or legal issues. Um, and as stated in the ACA Code of Ethics, informed consent also sets a foundation with the client. So I used a consent form from Iowa Family Counseling to compare and contrast the ACA Code of Ethics and the state of Iowa's Behavioral Science Board's rules and regulations. I made a checklist of the types of information described in the ACA Code of Ethics, A to B, and compared it to Iowa Family Counseling's informed consent document. Iowa Counseling checked off every box except for the issue of relevant experience and what would happen in the case of a counselor's death or change in employers. They stated every counselor does have a master's degree and is licensed, but didn't go into more detail about relevant experience. When comparing this to Iowa's Behavioral Science Board's rules and regulations, Iowa's Family Counseling checked every single box. It was mentioned in the video titled Informed Consent and the Counselor that most states provide the bare minimum framework for what informed consent must look like. This was no different with Iowa Family's informed consent document. They met everything and provided more than what was needed. So it was also interesting to note in their informed consent the ambiguity they gave to dual relationships. It gave context to small town environments and how your counselor might live in your community. But the exact line, I typed it out here. The exact line was, our ethical code does not typically approve of dual relationships, meaning a relationship or interaction outside of the therapy office. This also includes social media, so your provider cannot be your friend on Facebook, Snapchat, have you follow them on Instagram, etc. The phrase "our ethical code does not typically" and needs to be cleared up, in my opinion. I don't think that's how ethical codes are written, is typically and not typically. Also, the ambiguity about social media relationships is explicitly banned in the ACA Code of Ethics. I was curious about reversing the roles. So instead of a uh, a client following or instead of a counselor following the client, what would it look like? And is there any literature on the client following the counselor? Um, so I found a journal article, White and Hanley 2023, which discussed the idea of mental health influencers and concluded that the ethical lines are being crossed and blurred with social media use. As you get more and more mental health counselors creating TikTok pages and getting 100,000 followers, it's hard to uh, manage that and see if you have any clients actually following you. So that was very interesting. And then also checking with Section H of the ACA Code of Ethics and how it deals out guidelines for social media use, but it doesn't specifically address when the counselor is being followed by clients. So I'm really curious on that. And as social media continues to blow up and be more and more involved in our lives. But overall, informed consent is part of the six ethical principles that we hold close to us as counselors. And it was really enjoyable just to read through the ACA Code of Ethics. I mean, it sounds very dry, but I actually found it very enlightening and informative, and it's a saved PDF on my computer now. So thank you.